Why, hello there. Are you here to listen to a scary story? Perhaps you just happen to stumble upon my channel. Well, my name is DANIEDREADFUL, and that's what I do here. I tell scary stories. Sometimes they're true, and sometimes they're fictional. You decide. Tonight, we're diving into the history of a beloved holiday. That's right, Valentine's Day. So grab your blankets, grab your whiskey, wine, or coffee, whichever you prefer, and let's get into it. Every February 14th, we celebrate love. Chocolates, roses, and heart-shaped trinkets. But beneath the romantic gestures, the story of St. Valentine is anything but sweet. In fact, it's drenched in blood. So who was Valentine, and why does he deserve his own holiday? The Catholic Church recognizes multiple saints named Valentine, and over time, their stories have kind of merged. The most widely accepted version places him in 3rd century Rome during the reign of Emperor Claudius II, also known as Claudius the Cruel. Valentine was believed to be either a priest or a bishop, possibly the Bishop of Terni. Valentine was a Christian during a time of persecution. The Roman Empire still practiced paganism, and Christianity was seen as a dangerous and rebellious religion. So the most famous legend about his arrest involves forbidden marriages. Emperor Claudius II outlawed marriages for young men, believing that unmarried soldiers made better warriors. Valentine saw this as unjust and continued to perform secret wedding ceremonies, defying the emperor's orders. Another version claims that he was arrested for helping persecuted Christians escape from Roman prison, an act considered treasonous at that time. Either way, Claudius had him arrested, and his fate was sealed. And this is where it gets a little interesting. While in prison, Valentine befriended the jailer's blind daughter. Some say he performed a miracle restoring her sight, while others believe he simply comforted her in his final days. Before his execution, he left her a farewell note signed, "From your Valentine." So on February 14th, 269 AD, Valentine was sentenced to death. Some say he was beaten and stoned before finally being beheaded. Saint Valentine was executed on this day, but his name didn't become linked with romance until much later. In 496 AD, Pope Gelasius I officially declared February 14 as Saint Valentine's Day, turning it into a Christian feast day. But why February 14? The answer lies in an ancient pagan festival called Lupercalia. Lupercalia was a fertility festival held every February 13th through 15th. It honored Faunus, the Roman god of agriculture, and the legendary founders of Rome, Romulus and Remus. But the rituals, they were strange, even by ancient standards. Priests called Luperci would sacrifice goats and dogs, smear the blood onto their bodies, because why not, and then run through the streets whipping women with strips of animal hide, which, according to them, was supposed to increase fertility. Now, I don't know about you, but if some guy came running at me covered in blood and waving goat skin, I wouldn't be thinking, yeah, it's my lucky day. But to each his own. Now, that might sound crazy, but the real fun was the love lottery. Young men would draw names of women from a jar, and congratulations, you just got yourself a festival partner. Some of these pairings lasted only for the event, but others, they actually led to marriage. So basically, ancient Rome was out here playing speed dating meets the Hunger Games, and somehow, this eventually led to Valentine's Day. When Christianity spread, Pope Gelasius wanted to replace Lupercalia with something less disturbing. So he took the closest Christian martyr and made February 14th St. Valentine's Day instead. So the festival of whipping and sacrifice eventually became a day of love and devotion. Over time, his story merged with romantic traditions, and he became the patron saint of lovers, engaged couples, and marriages. However, he's also the patron saint of beekeepers, epilepsy, and plague victims. Now, it might sound like a strange combination, but it's not uncommon for saints in medieval tradition. During the Middle Ages, the holiday became even more romantic. People believed mid-February was the start of birds' mating season, making it the perfect time to celebrate love. By the 14th century, poets like Shakespeare were writing about Valentine's Day as a romantic occasion, and soon, people were exchanging love letters and tokens of affection. By the 1800s, the first mass-produced Valentine's cards appeared. Chocolate companies and florists turned it into the holiday we recognize today. But beneath all the hearts and roses is a history of pagan sacrifice, secret weddings, and a man who died for love. So several churches claim to house St. Valentine's remains. The Basilica of Santa Maria in Rome displays a skull believed to be his, adorned with flowers. The Basilica of St. Valentine in Terni holds relics and is a pilgrimage site for couples. Whitefriars Street Church in Dublin, Ireland, claims to have some of his bones gifted by a pope in the 19th century. Each site has its own legends, and some visitors report strange occurrences and ghostly whispers, especially around Valentine's Day. Some say if you visit alone on Valentine's Day, you might hear whispers in the cold air. But in another church, Basilica di San Valentino in Terni, an even darker legend lingers. Visitors report seeing shadowy figures kneeling at his tomb, only to vanish when approached. Candles extinguish on their own, and on February 14th, couples have claimed to hear a voice whispering blessings or warnings. Could it be St. Valentine himself? Or is it something else, drawn to the energy of love and loss? Historians debate whether the story of St. Valentine is based on one real person or a combination of multiple figures. And get this, the Catholic Church actually removed St. Valentine from the official calendar of saints in 1969 due to lack of historical evidence. But regardless of whether he was one man, two men, or just a legend, his story endures. A tale of love, sacrifice, and defiance in the face of oppression. So now that we know the history of Valentine's Day, let's get into a little bit of the horror aspect of it, shall we? Not all Valentine's Day horrors are ancient. Some are soaked in fresh blood. On February 14th, 1929, the streets of Chicago ran red in one of the most infamous gangland murders in American history, the St. Valentine's Day Massacre. That morning, 7 men from the North Side gang, rivals of Al Capone, gathered inside a garage. They were waiting for a meeting, but instead, 4 men dressed as police officers stormed inside. The gangsters were lined up against the wall, hands raised, and then they were executed in a brutal hail of bullets, over 70 rounds fired. When the real police arrived, they found the bodies in a pile, the walls riddled with bullet holes. The killers were never officially caught, though many blamed Al Capone. But the story doesn't end there. The site of the massacre is said to be cursed. The garage has since been demolished, but paranormal investigators report hearing phantom gunshots, sometimes screams, and even the eerie sound of men begging for their lives. Some say if you visit the site on Valentine's Day, you might feel something watching you. Now, if bloodshed isn't your type of horror, let's talk about the Ghost Bride of Niagara Falls. Valentine's Day is a time for weddings, but not all brides make it to their happily ever after. Legend tells of a young woman who was to be married on February 14th. The night before her wedding, she and her fiancé visited Niagara Falls, standing at the edge, admiring the view. But something happened. Some say an argument, some say an accident. Her body was never recovered, but locals claim that on Valentine's Day, a ghostly figure in a wedding gown can be seen standing at the falls. Sometimes she leaps, vanishing into thin air, before she reaches the water. Others report hearing sobbing, a heartbroken wail carried by the wind. Is she looking for her lost love? Or is she seeking revenge? So, as we can see, Valentine's Day isn't just about love and romance. It's a day of ghosts, of tragedy, whispers from the past. So tonight, when you light a candle for someone you love, be careful who might be watching from the shadows. Happy Valentine's Day, my beautiful creepy people.